Henry James, Principal Fast Track Solution Architect, and I'm here today to introduce you to how to use low-code and no-code to extend your project applications using the Microsoft Power Platform. So low-code empowers every developer to go faster. The Microsoft Power Platform is about low-code and how it enables different developers with different backgrounds to work together, from the IT professional developer to the citizen developer and the business advanced user. The Power Platform is based on 4 products: Power BI for analytics, Power Apps for rapid application development, Power Automate for automation and robotic process automation, and Power Virtual Agent for chatbots. It's also based on Dataverse, which is the foundational database for your business data, AI Builder to automate and infuse your apps with artificial intelligence, and it has more than 500 connectors to connect to different first-party and third-party data sources. Power Apps picks up where other solutions fall short, and this is where it's very important to understand that Power Apps not only lets you create net new app, but also extend existing apps to fill those gaps. So for example, it's very easy to extend Dynamics 365 first-party apps, but also extend third-party vendor apps with Power Apps and connect them together. Power Automate is also the low-code, no-code tool to automate business processes and lets you connect 500 different data sources and counting, and you can create your own custom connectors, and really spans the Microsoft ecosystem and also integrates with Windows 11 with Power Automate Desktop, allowing you to create your own robotic process automation to help you be more productive. At the heart of the Microsoft Power Platform is Dataverse, and Dataverse is not just where you store your business data. It's not just a SQL database. It does much more than that. It has an API layer that other applications can use. It has embedded security and logic and data capabilities such as reporting, data modeling, and exceptional storage capabilities as well when it comes to choosing for you the right place to store your data based on your data types. So if you're going to use files, they will be stored in blob storage. If you're going to use non-relational data, it will be stored in elastic tables. If you're using relational standard data, it will be stored in SQL. And those decisions will be made by the platform itself for you. And it's, of course, highly integrable with other applications, and it's extensible using Microsoft Azure. What's great about Dataverse is that it also scales automatically with you to accommodate your needs and your growing base of users. And it takes care of security, such as backupping, providing high availability for you. Dynamics 365 Operations, as you know, empowers services organizations with tools to allow you to track projects and drive success across operations, from prospect to cash. It connects sales, resourcing, project management, and finance within a single application. Today, I'm going to show you how to extend the project application. And it's important to note that this equally works for project, for the web, and for the PMO application. In this scenario, I will create a new column on the project table in Dataverse, and also to track if a project is done in a regulated industry. I will then create a mobile-friendly UI with the Power Apps Canvas apps so that end users can complete details of a specific project on the go and request an approval if specific conditions are met. And I will create a Power Automate Cloud Flow to manage the approval process with the user that is only using Microsoft Teams. So let's first start on the Dataverse side and with the standard project operations application. So we'll start by creating a new column called Regulated Industry in Dataverse in the project table. And then we'll be updating the project form so that the newly created column is displayed and available to end users. Let's go through these steps together. So first, you will want to log into what we call the Maker portal on make.powerapps.com. This is where you do all your customizations. As a best practice, we recommend to use solutions. Solutions are a concept that allow you to package your customizations so that you can deploy them to downstream environments as part of your application lifecycle management. For the sake of the demo, I created the solution already, but if you don't have one, create a new solution or work from an existing unmanaged one. As I said, the solution is a package for your Power Platform customizations. From here, you can see all the components that were added to the solution. In this example, I start from fresh, so the solution is empty. So I will start by adding existing components to my solution. And what I want to do, because I want to create a new column, is first adding the existing table for the project table. So here, I search for the project table, select it, and click next in order to add it to my solution. It will ask me if I want to add more than just the table, if I want to add subcomponents of the table. For example, if I want to integrate all components, so that would be all the columns, all the views, everything that relates to that table, or only the components that I have handpicked. Here, I don't want anything because I just want to add a new column. So I'll just click Add. And I can see now that my solution contains the project table. As a next step, I will enter the project table and click on Add New Column. And this will immediately show me the list of options I have for my new field that I want to create. I will give it a name and I will select the data type I want for this. And as you can see, Dataverse supports a really wide variety of data types, from the most standard one like text to more advanced ones like file, image. It supports calculated columns. And here, for my example, I want to create a yes/no column because I want to know if this project is done in a regulated industry or not. You can see at the bottom that you have some advanced options for security. For example, if you want to audit the changes, who has changed the value from a previous value to a new one, or you may want to only allow specific users to do these updates and enable that field for security. Once you're done, you click Done and then save your table so that your changes are somehow committed in the platform. And that's it. The columns that I created are now saved to Dataverse and I can start using it. Now I want to add the new column that I created to the project form. So what I'm going to do is click on Add Subcomponent and click on the Forms tab and then select the appropriate form on which I want to add the column. Once I do that, I click Add, and the form gets added to my solution in the context of the project table. It's there, so I can now enter it, and this will immediately display the what you see is what you get form designer in Power Apps. So I can immediately see the end result of my customizations, and this is what my end users will see. I navigate to the side to the fields and columns that are available to select from. It will show me by default all the columns that have not yet been added to the form. I can search for regulated industry, and I can simply drag and drop the field into the desired place in my form. As a result, the field is added on the form just below customer. In the column properties, I can choose to display it with an advanced format, which is toggle, because I want my end users to have a nice experience. So I choose toggle in this option. Next, I hit save and I publish my form so that the customizations will be now rendered to my end users. And as you can see, now that I log back into the form with my end user, you can see that the field was added onto the form. Now that I've added a new column and added it to my model-driven app form, I want to go further and create a Power Apps Canvas app. This will allow me to offer a custom and mobile-friendly user interface to help my users input data into Dataverse and also trigger an approval process. I will also show how to distribute the app to end users and make sure that they have the appropriate security role to have access to the app and to the underlying data. So the fastest way to create a new Canvas app is to start from your data. And Power Apps will help you on that journey with Dataverse. So what you want to do is select from the homepage of Power Apps the Dataverse option to start your app. You will first need to create a connection to Dataverse using your credentials. So you do that by clicking on New Connection and selecting the Microsoft Dataverse data source. You create the connection, and then you select the table on which you want to create an app. In this example, we want to create an app for the project entity. So this is the table I select. Then you let Power Apps do the magic for you and generate an app. It will take a very short moment to generate an app based on your data model. And as you can see, you will then land in this studio where you can edit your Canvas app. And what Power Apps has done here is that it has created a functional app with 3 screens already: the browse screen, the detail screen, and the edit screen. So it's already fully operational for your end users. But I want to customize it a little so that it reflects what I truly need. So in the detail screen, you can adjust the list of fields and you can add the missing ones. It's very easy to do. So you just select the detail form, click on edit fields, and then add the missing ones, remove the ones that are superfluous, and just add the regulated industry to your form. Next, you can see that the field is added to the list on your app. You can apply the same steps to the edit screen. It's a slightly different screen because you might not want the same fields when you're in edit mode or when you are in a display mode. For the rest of the scenario, I'm also going to add the project ID to the detail screen. It will be useful next when I start an approval, but because it's not useful for the end user, I'm hiding it. So it's present, but it's not visible to the end user. I readjust the height of the form to create sufficient space for a button. And to add the button, I just go to Insert and select Button. I give it a name, require approval, and I will update that button later once I create flow. For now, I'm ready to save the app. So I go on File, give my app a name and save it. And I can also, in the same time, share the app with users. From that screen, I can share the app with users, but also with security groups. And I can also assign roles to these users so that from a single screen and very few clicks, I can distribute my apps to a full group of users or to everybody within my organization. And I can also make sure that those users have the appropriate permissions on the table that I use in my project. In that case, because the app needs to have access to the project table, I can assign the project user security role to the users who are part of the group of users that I add here. I click Share and it's done for me. I now go back to my solution to make sure my new app is part of it. Because as you recall, in the first step here, I started from the homepage of make.powerapps.com. So I just go to Add Existing Canvas App. And from here, on the Outside Dataverse tab, I select the appropriate app and I add it to my solution. That way, when I deploy this package to downstream environments, all my customizations are part of the same package and deploy nicely. My solution package now contains all of my customizations. Now that I've created my Canvas app, the last missing bit is creating the approval process. So for that, I will use Power Automate to create a cloud flow. This will help me to streamline approvals from Dynamics 365 and Power Apps to Microsoft Teams, and it will help me meet users where they are. So again, let's start from make.powerapps.com. I go back to Solutions, open the solution that I have been using, and from here, I can create a new instant cloud flow. There are various types of flows, and I choose instant because this action will be triggered from a button in a Power Apps. I give my flow a name and then select the Power Apps V2 connector and then click Create. This will then lead me to the designer of the flow, and this is where I can build the logic for my approval. From here, I first start by expanding the Power Apps connector to configure the inputs. These are the information I want my app to pass to my flow so that it knows what conditions to check and what to do. So there are different data types that you can configure when you configure the connector. And for this example, I will define 3 inputs. One is the regulated industry field that we have created in the first demo, then the estimated effort, because I want my approval process to only kick in if the number of hours is above a specific threshold. And the last one is project ID. Remember, that's the field I had created but hid on my form, but that will help me in this flow. And then I click New Step. I only want the approval to kick in if specific conditions are met. So the next step is to add condition control and action on my flow. And as you can see, this will create 2 branches, if yes and if no condition. And the if yes actions will only be triggered if the conditions that I define are met. Here, the conditions are if the project is done for a regulated industry and if the number of estimated hours is above or equal to 1,000. I now add an action in the yes branch. Here, I add the Dataverse connector because I have the project ID and I want to retrieve more information from Dataverse than what the app passed me, triggering the flow. So I choose Get Row by ID. I, of course, select the project table, and the row ID is the project ID. And as you can see on the right-hand side, Flow allows me to dynamically choose relevant information. So because I started the flow by defining 3 inputs, I can use those inputs as part of my logic in Power Automate. So I choose project ID. There are also advanced options that let me pick the data from the project that I need and from parent rows. For the sake of that demo, I already wrote this, but it's basically allowing me to only retrieve very few information so that my flow is optimized and only uses the data it needs. And I also use the expand query to retrieve the additional data I need from parent tables of the project. Here I want the approver email address from the contracting organizational unit, and I want the owner of the project full name. Next, I choose the approval connector and choose the create an approval action. Here, I can choose various conditions, but for this example, I will choose approve, reject, everyone must approve. Because when you create approvals, you can choose an approval to be only approved by a single user, multiple users, and there are different rules that you can set up here so that maybe the first person to respond is sufficient, or maybe you need everyone to respond. Next, I can add data dynamically to the approval action. So here I will define the title, so approval request for project name, and I can add further details, do a little bit of rich formatting, for example, by bolding some of the key information. For example, the owning user of the project has created a project that exceeds that many hours. You'd please approve or decline it. I can also insert a link to the specific record that needs to be approved or rejected. And I can also give the link a description. You can see here that I've used Power Automate building blocks to really dynamically use the information at hand, information that I retrieved thanks to the Power Apps connector initially, and then from Dataverse, queried the data to obtain more information. Now, I want to make sure that the approver sees the notification in Teams for the approval. So what I'm going to do is to post an adaptive card in a chat with the approver. And for that, I use the Microsoft Teams connector and the post adaptive card in a chat or channel action. And in a very few steps, I select to post it as the flow bot. So that's the Power Automate bot that we have in Microsoft Teams. The recipient is, again, the contracting unit approval email address that I had defined in the step where I retrieved data from Dataverse. And the adaptive card was generated from me from the create an approval step. So I just reuse it here. That's it. I save the flow. And now I can go back to my Canvas app because I need to finish and hook the button that I created with the flow. So for that, I click on the button, click on action, and select Power Automate. And this will show me all the available flows that are ready to be triggered from that button. I select the flow that I just created. And as you can see, this will pre-fill the formula bar for me with the name of the flow and with the run function. And it will also tell me that in order to properly work, it will need 3 inputs. One Boolean, which is the regulated industry, one number, which is the number of effort hours, and the last one is a text string. This is the ID of the project. I provide all this information, and as you can see, just like in Excel, I use Excel-like formulas called PowerFX to pass the 3 required inputs to the flow. And as you can see, the Power Apps command function editor, formula editor helps me by doing some highlighting and hinting on what the appropriate formulas are. And I immediately know, because there are no red lines, that there is no mistake in my formula, and I can now save my app and publish it so that my end users get the latest version of what I just did. And that's it. And now for the end-to-end demo, I will show you the end result of having the new column being created to track project in a specific regulated industry. I added the column to the project form. We created a custom mobile-friendly UI with an approval button, and we created the Power Automate Cloud Flow to manage the approval process with the user in Microsoft Teams. Here, my user creates a project. In the project operations for the web, it selects a customer and saves the project. On the front line, the user uses the new Canvas application to access the project information and add in more details and say it's part of a regulated industry. It requires an approval, so they click the button. This triggers my flow. The approver is notified in Teams, and from Teams, the approver can approve or decline, and I can see all the information that I passed so that they can approve the requests. All the approvals are tracked in this page. Last, as an approval request, the approval also receives an email to really be sure that we meet them where they are. But as you can see, because the approver already approved the request from Teams in Outlook, even though they have an email, it says you already have approved the request, so they know they don't have any pending action on their side. The content is updated real time based on the fact that the request was approved or declined already. Last, an admin can check in Power Automate that the flow ran successfully and went down the happy path when the conditions were met and the approval request was made. I hope you found this session on extending project operations useful and that you found the value in low-code, no-code extensibility offered by the Microsoft Power Platform. Thank you and see you next time.